So in this fourth video, I will discuss the lesson or the topic of some of the personalities behind correctional institutions. But some of the personalities will be discussed later on in the next video. So let's start off with Cesare Beccaria. So this is the picture of Cesare Beccaria shown above. So Cesare Beccaria, in full, Cesare Bonaisana Marquis or Marquis de Beccaria. He was born in March 15, 1738 in Milan, Italy, and he died on November 28, 1794 in the same country, in Milan, Italy. He is in Italian Criminologies and Economies, whose Delitti e del Peni in 1764, English translation J.A. Ferrari, Crimes and Punishments in 1880, was celebrated volume on the reform of criminal justice. Beccaria was the son of a Milanese aristocrat of modest means. From an early age, he displayed the essential traits of his character: a highly volatile temperament resulted in periods of enthusiasm followed by depression and inactivity. He was reserved and somewhat taciturn in his social contacts, but placed great value on his personal and family relationships. At the age of 8, he was sent to the Jesuit school in Parma. Beccaria later described the education he received there as fanatical and stifling to the development of human feelings. Although he revealed a mathematical aptitude, little in his student days gave indication of the remarkable intellectual achievements that were soon to follow. In 1758, he received a degree in law from the University of Pavia. In 1760, Beccaria's proposed marriage to the 16-year-old Teresa Blasco encountered the obdurate opposition of his father. The following year, the marriage took place without parental consent, and the young couple began their life together in poverty. So Beccaria, at the early age, he is being married without even parental consent that leads them to a poverty kind of life. The bridge between father and son was ultimately repaired, and Beccaria and his wife were received into the family home. In 1762, a daughter, the first of his 3 children, was born. Marquis of Beccaria Bonaisa. It is also the same person, so let's proceed. So Beccaria Cesare Bonaisana, Marquis of the year 1738-1794, Italian economist and proponent of judicial reform. Cesare Beccaria was the author of the most famous Italian work of the Enlightenment on crimes and punishments in the year 1764. So Cesare Beccaria was the author of the most famous Italian work of the Enlightenment. So he was born into a noble family of the state of Milan in Italy, which was part of the Austrian Habsburg Empire and was schooled by the Jesuits in Parma. After receiving his law degree from the University of Pavia in 1758, he returned to live in Milan. Beccaria's 20s were the most important decade in, in his intellectual and emotional life. So, when Beccaria reached the age of 20s, he claimed that it is the most important decade of his life in which it falls over in his intellectual and emotional life in these stages. He was temperamentally inclined to lethargy and anxiety, but when young, could also be galvanized by inspiration and express his feelings in the language of Roseo. He married his first wife in 1761 against strong resistance from his family and wrote on crimes and punishment in the year 1763. When he was 25, Beccaria himself dated his discovery of the Enlightenment to 1761, when he began to read the works of the French and Scottish philosophies and discuss them with a circle of young friends led by Petro Verri. So Beccaria discovered the Enlightenment in the year 1761, and he began to read the work of French and Scottish philosophies regarding to this Enlightenment. So in all the provinces of the Austrian Empire, including Milan, absolutist reforms emanating from Vienna continued to encounter entrenched resistance from noble and ecclesiastical corporations and from the juridical culture of the ancient regime. Very Beccaria and their court wished to modernize and rationalize the economy and the legal system in line with Enlightenment. So, Very and Beccaria, they wish to modernize and rationalize the economy and the legal system in line with the Enlightenment. Secular morality, and they supported governmental reform. On Crimes and Punishments was first published in 1764. So the book authored by Beccaria or Cesare Beccaria about on crimes and punishment was first published in the year 1764, with subsequent edition following rapidly. Beccaria prepared the edition now regarded as definitive in 1766. The work became known in France through the translation of André Morellet in the year 1727 to 1819, who freely altered the Italian text. Beccaria, for some reason, never protested against this. So, this person, this André Morellet, translate the book of the Italian author, which is Beccaria, and when Beccaria noticed about this, he doesn't protest against it. And then it spread throughout Europe. His book on crimes and punishment was being spread out in the Europe. It was attacked by conservatives everywhere and was defended by adherents of the Enlightenment. Voltaire composed a commentary on it. In October 1766, Very and Beccaria journeyed to Paris to back in the admiration of the philosophies there, but Beccaria quickly became despondent and fled back to Milan. On Crimes and Punishments combines elements from social contract theory with utilitarian positions. It touches on many aspects of law and justice in a rapid, impassioned style completely abjuring legal tech- technicalities. Criminal law ought to state clearly what is forbidden and what the penalties and an oath to be applied uniformly to all, with no room for discre- discretionary interpretation by juries or magistrates or gracious pardon from the sovereign. The penalties themselves should be carefully proportioned to the corresponding crimes and calibrated to deliver the minimum punishment necessary. So the penalties should be aligned or should be fitted on the case of um, of the corresponding crimes. Beccaria sought in all cases to minimize or abolish the use of violence and the infliction of pain. So, in this kind of book that Beccaria made on the crimes and punishments, it is because he wants to minimize the use of violence and inflicting pain. He argued against the use of torture in the gathering of evidence, highlighting its absurdity, and against the death penalty, emphasizing its failure to deter. So, Cesare Beccaria is against with such violence act of punishment because for him it does not deter crime. So he wants to abolish this kind of violence acts in getting some evidence from the criminals, and he doesn't even want to use this kind of death penalty because these kinds of violence acts will be done to those criminals as a serve as a punishment does not even deter any crime. Okay. The thrust of the work was to guarantee the individual citizen against arbitrariness, delay, secrecy, and useless and excessive violence. In the codification of the law and the application of penal sanctions. Overall, the book is a sustained attack on the juridical culture of the ancient regime, as well as a sketch of the principles on which it ought to be reformed so as to produce the greatest happiness shared among the greatest numbers. So Beccaria's book on crimes and punishment was to reform this juridical criminal justice system. So now we have Cesare Lombroso. Cesare Lombroso was described as the father of modern criminology. Cesare Lombroso's theory of the born criminal dominated thinking about criminal behavior in the late 19th and early 20th century. He was born on November 6, 1835 and died October 19, 1909, was the founder of the Italian School of Positivist Criminology. So, Cesare Lombroso rejected the established classical school, which held that crime was a characteristic trait of human nature and the rational choices were the foundation of behavior. So Cesare Lombroso rejected this kind of classical school in which it stated there that crime was a characteristic trait of human nature and rational choices were the foundation of human behavior. So Lombroso, using a scientific approach and concept drawn from physiognomy, early eugenics, psychiatry, and social Darwinism, argued that criminality was inherited and that the born criminal could be identified by physical defects, which confirm as criminal as savage or atavistics. So based on Cesare Lombroso, that a criminal is born, you can define criminal because it is born as criminal because it is inherited. That's based on him. While his particular identifying characteristics are no longer considered valid, the idea of factors that predispose certain individuals to commit crime continues to be foundational to work in criminology. Together with his emphasis on the scientific method, this revolutionary approach has earned Lombroso the title as father of scientific criminology. So, Cesare Lombroso used scientific approach which made him as the father of scientific criminology. So this ends my discussions about some of the personalities behind correctional institutions. The three following personalities will be discussed later on in my fifth video. So that's all. Thank you.